A big hello and welcome. It's Kate from Zen Stitching, and I'm super excited to join you today for another one of our amazing conversations with artists who are participating in the Making Zen event. Today, I am so delighted to be joining Erin Eggenburg, who is also known as Renbird Arts on socials, and she's also joining us for the Making Zen online retreat. A big hello and welcome.
Hi.
It's so lovely to have you here. We were having a quick chat off air and we were reminiscing about how long it's been since we last connected for Making Zen. I think it was 2 years.
I think so.
Yeah, something like that. It's amazing how time flies, and the years seem to go past and add the age to us, don't they? But
That does happen.
it's funny, but things stay the same or feel like they stay the same. But I know that lots has happened between now and then, and which is a really nice diving in point into what have you been up to lately, Erin? Because the last time we connected, you were doing lots and lots of fun mends. And where are you now on your creative journey?
Well, I still do mending. I currently, right underneath me, have about two big mending piles, but I don't talk about it very much, but hand embroidery is sort of my foray into mending before I really got into mending. So I'm always kind of digging around in fiber arts, but embroidery is definitely my favorite. Since I spoke with you last, I've gotten really into natural dyeing. This spring, I've kind of been focusing on dyeing embroidery threads and using them in kind of some new projects. Growing a lot of dye flowers, so that's what I'm doing now is doing a lot of gardening and planting and crossing my fingers that things will pop up later.
Yes, it's a bit like that. Well, for all of us in the Northern Hemisphere, particularly the northern part of the Northern Hemisphere, it's just starting to get warm outside. And for me, the daffodils, it's almost starting to bloom. There's hints of yellow just about to peek through. Where are you at with your dye garden for the year so far?
Well, I'm currently using dried flowers from last year, but I've been planting seeds. It's a little early to plant, but the weather's been so nice that I kind of can't resist. So, that's why the fingers crossed. So right now everything is still in seed form, seed and hope. But I do have some dried materials that I saved from last year. I collected all summer last year, so I have all of these flowers and you may or may not know, but dyeing little skeins of embroidery thread doesn't take a ton of material, so I can kind of um, I can still work on projects while I don't have any active materials that are ready yet.
That's one of the beauties about natural dye, isn't it? You can keep on going throughout the season just if you collect over the summer and autumn.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. Which of your plants that you grow are some of your favorites?
Ooh, I mean, always marigolds. Marigolds are just, they're so friendly. But I would definitely say like a sulfur, sulfur cosmos have been really fun as
Mm.
well. I was really surprised by dahlias. I dyed with some red and yellow dahlias. I've been doing a lot of dyeing. But it didn't feel like the color I expected. I can't remember what it was now. But just been getting a lot of different results and kind of like then once I've dyed with one color, then I'll combine those together to come up with something new. So I'm always looking for like purples and greens and something because reds and oranges or I guess oranges and yellows are really easy to come by. So I'm always trying to get those like deeper colors. Um,
Yeah.
it's all about experimenting, which is so much fun.
Oh, it is, isn't it? And I always liken natural dyeing to being a mad scientist because you get to play, and depending on what modifiers you use, you can change the color dramatically, and it's just like having so much
Yeah,
fun.
endless.
Yeah. It totally is. Now, Erin, I'm trying to place you on the map. Are you in Central or Eastern North America?
I am on the West Coast.
You're on the West Coast. Oh, okay. Well, it will be definitely much warmer over there, and things will.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about a frost anymore, I'm guessing, then in that case.
We might. You never know. Sometimes there's a weird snowstorm that comes in, like I think it snowed on my birthday one year and my birthday is next week. So
Oh,
it does snow kind of off into maybe into May sometimes,
is
but
it so?
you never know.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday for next week. That's exciting.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. And I'm wondering if you're on the West Coast, do you get lupins?
Yeah, we do.
Yes. Have you tried dyeing with them?
I have not. It's on my list.
Yes, give that a go because
Ooh, I
you
will.
get the purple lupins, particularly when you add, I think it's like soda ash. You get these amazing greens, really
Ooh.
pretty kind of aquary teal kind of green.
Oh, I'm into it. Okay.
And the
That's
leaves are
going
really
on the
good
list.
for bundle dyeing as well, where you roll them up
Yeah.
because they're in interesting shape. So yes, you'll have to add that to the list. They're one of my favorites that I like to work with because they're just so pretty.
Oh, yeah.
That's so fun. I love hearing that you've been playing around with a whole lot of stuff and working with the natural dyes and dyeing your yarns as well and your
Mhm.
threads, which kind of adds a whole extra layer into your creative practice. And also going back to the stitching too. So I had no idea that you were really interested in embroidery before diving into mending. Makes total sense. But
Hmm.
how did you get into the whole embroidery and then the mending process?
Well, it's funny. So my business is turning 13 this year.
Oh
So
wow!
when I
Happy
first
birthday.
started my business, it was the focus was really hand embroidery and hand embroidered handkerchiefs. And so I made those over a few years, and I actually embroidered about 15,000 handkerchiefs in
Wow.
several years' time. And I burnt out hard, as you can imagine. That's a lot of hand embroidery to do for someone else and not really do much for myself. So I really burnt out, and that took me into mending because it gave me something that I could do. Like I took on a mending project that was my own pair of jeans that just needed it. And I found a lot more freedom there, and it really allowed me to kind of open up and explore in a way that when you're embroidering, something that's this big on a handkerchief, you're rather limited. So, um, I think it broadened my horizon a little bit. And now, years later, and I've always, done a little tinkering with embroidery, but years later, I've come back and I have a new understanding for embroidery. I think I always needed to have a plan of what am I going to embroider previously. And now I like the idea of being a little bit more freeform and kind of exploring creativity a little bit more and just sort of letting flow out of you what will. Because I think that that's embroidery. There are so many different types of embroidery, but I think being a little bit more freestyle with it can really kind of open up your creativity. And I'm always sort of looking for a way to explore my creativity and explore my own style. And um, I mean, embroidery. I always think embroidery is good for so many things, but I think it's particularly great for that because embroidery is such a low stakes entry. You don't need to purchase a ton of materials and you don't need to have a ton of classes to do it. It's just learning some basics. And then from there, what are you interested in? Because it can open up so many different doors. So, I mean, embroidery is just, it's fascinating to me. And there's so much history in it too.
There is, and when you look at it like that, there's so many different ways to embroider, isn't there? You've got,
Yeah.
goodness, I don't even know where to begin, but lots of different ways. So it's amazing how something as simple as a needle and a thread and some fabric can have so many different variations within that one, because when you think about it, they're quite tight boundaries, so to speak, aren't they? Or parameters, like, but yet within those parameters, you've got all these amazing possibilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it's that's so cool. I love hearing that's one of your loves. And for people who have met you for the first time, I love the story of how your business name came into being. Would you like to share that with us?
Sure. My business name, Renbird Arts. So way back in like at the end of high school and beginning of college, I had a friend who used to call me Renbird because I'm all of 5'3". I think I'm 5'2" now, but
Mhm.
5'3" was like the top of my height, and I'm kind of a petite person. And my name is Erin, and so I think she just kind of connected Erin with Wren and then added bird to the end for some reason. And I always really liked that nickname. I felt it suited me. So when I started my business, naming a business is very difficult. It feels like a pretty big decision, and I'm not great at making big decisions. So I went with Renbird Arts and thought, well, arts kind of encompasses whatever it is I'm going to dig into, but Renbird will always be who I am.
Yeah.
So kind
Yeah.
of combines the two. And then Renbird Men's is my one of my Instagram accounts, Renbird Arts and Renbird Men's. So when I really got into mending, I felt like it was strong enough to start a new account with. So I post on both, but Renbird Arts is really kind of like my more professional business side account, and Renbird Men's has become kind of my personal project or whatever it is I'm specifically working on now.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And what a lovely nickname to have. It's so delightful because it's so evocative. It really is.
Yeah.
And with your love of mending and your love of stitching and your creativity in general, that's one of the reasons why I've invited you back again to be part of the Making Zen online retreat. And I'd love for you to share with us what you're going to share with everybody.
All right. Well, this is something new and exciting. So I love a stitch sampler. I try and find excuses to rope people into playing stitch samplers with me all the time. But I thought, well, since I like it so much, maybe I can kind of turn it into a game. And I talked about how decisions can be difficult, especially if you're trying to be whimsical and trying to be not so planned. How do you make those decisions without kind of hitting that wall and being like, I don't know.
Mhm.
So I came up with this idea. So I love here a couple of samplers. And I just think when you're not planning, you can kind of see like where stitches start to go off on their own. These are some of my samplers, some larger, some smaller, but how you can kind of start to build stitches into one another. This one's a really big one that was done several years ago. But I just love how you can kind of pick out individual stitches, but you can also see how when you layer stitches together or stitch over the top or alongside, it's always going to look different. Like you can never create the same sampler over and over and over again because your stitch is always different. And so I think that it kind of helps you to relate to embroidery a little differently. But anyways, so my idea is that I have some jars here. So you'll show up with a scrap and a needle and some thread, maybe just some thread scraps. This is a really good scrap buster for threads when you have those like kind of like middle length threads that they're great for a sampler. So I also have these jars here. This one now it's backwards, but it says challenges and stitches. So these have a bunch of different stitches in them, like running stitch, French knot, all of those, whatever ones you would want to use. So you get to pick what you'll be using and what stitches, and I have a list that I'll bring with me. And then the challenges, it's kind of like, okay, so you pick your stitch, you have your thread, you pick your stitch, and then what's the challenge? So if I pull one out right here, this one says build off of any stitch. So if it's your first run, disregard. But if it's your second stitch, then you would build off, or if it's, your 10th, you could choose another stitch to build off of. But so that's where the title Chance and Choice Embroidery, because you are just picking out kind of like that instruction that frees you up to just play, I think.
Mm.
And then I've got some dice here because are you going to make one stitch? Are you going to make three stitches? How many stitches will you make? So that's where the dice comes in because the dice will choose how many stitches you'll make for each choice.
Oh, wow, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. I love a board game, so this kind of brings in that my love of board games and combines embroidery, and I like to kind of mash things together and see what happens.
Yeah, what a great idea. And I think earlier in our conversation, I think you said you love it when people come over to play embroidery with you, or maybe I'm starting to put words
Oh
together, but I thought, so what a great idea. And oh my goodness, I can so see how engaging that would be, like you're like, what stitch am I going to get? And what's the challenge going to be? And then how many stitches am I going to do? I could imagine it would be very difficult to stop once you get started.
Yeah, and you can set your own timeline. Yeah, or you could join it with other people. You can do it on your own. There are just so many different options for who you are and what your interest is, and kind of how you would want to interact with it.
Yeah. Oh, it's so much fun. Got me thinking about like snakes and ladders, some of those really traditional games
Yeah.
and how you could incorporate some of that kind of fun stuff into it too. But what a lovely idea to do with a group, for example. So you could get together for afternoon tea, and instead of playing a game of cards or a board game, you'd play stitching.
Yeah. And I love, like, stitching is embroidery, stitching, anything sort of like crafty fiber arts. I feel like historically they often happen in groups, and it kind of fosters a sense of community, and the people talk and they relax, and that's another thing that I love about fiber arts and embroidery is that it brings people together, I think.
It does, doesn't it? The amount of times I've noticed when people sit around a table and they're stitching, how conversation flows very freely. And it's
Yeah,
just kind of like you talk about whatever's on your mind, and it's just a very gentle way of connecting with people.
completely.
Yeah, it's lovely. And I think even for people who might be a little bit reserved in social settings, the ability to be stitching whilst being present is also very helpful because you've got that needle and thread to focus on. So you don't feel like the pressure's on to have to contribute to a conversation. Just being present is enough.
That's so true. I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. Oh, I love it. So getting back to this game, because I'm just trying to visualize it now. If a group of people were playing it together, would you suggest that each person draws from each of the two jars and rolls a dice, or would you recommend it's like a group thing? One person draws the things and rolls the dice, and
Ooh.
then everybody has to interpret it in their own individual way.
I like the idea. I mean, you can choose definitely, but I really
Mm.
like the idea of everyone interpreting it in their own way and kind of see what happens at the end when you have everyone's received the same instruction, but the way that you interpret it inside is always going, and the way that your hand stitches will be different. The color you choose, the location, all of these things, everyone will come out with something very different, even though they've heard the same instruction.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
I know. Isn't that a fun idea?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm even wondering. Now, this is just an off the top of my head idea. Maybe we could do a live version of that as part of Making Zen.
That would be really fun
Mm.
and see what folks come away with.
Oh, yay.
They're playing the game at home. Yeah.
Yeah, what a fun idea. Oh, I do love that. How much fun. I just love I love that you've combined two of your passions. Well, I'm assuming playing games is a passion,
Yeah.
and combining them to make this wonderful new way of stitching.
Yeah. It all kind of just unfolded. If something makes sense, then I'll kind of, what makes sense? What's next? What's next? And
Yeah.
this all just, it feels like it meshes together really well.
And it's nice because, like you say, sometimes decision making can be hard. I'm of the same ilk. I find it so difficult to make decisions, and so if it's something like you're leaving it to chance, that's fun, and so it's almost like you're working with an extra creative muse, not just yourself, but this other entity that's helping you select
Yeah.
what to stitch and what color thread and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, and it's something you can totally do on your own too. I can't tell you how many times I'm sure you would think about this too, that you just have this desire to do something creative, but what? What could I do? Like I don't, you don't have anything in mind, and I have a hard time like when I have all of these options. I'm in my studio now, but just nothing coming to mind. And this is something that I can always just pick up that's simple, that I don't have to do a ton of setup for. There's not a ton of takedown, but you can still get those hands working and doing something without putting a ton of thought into a project.
That's a really great idea, actually, because yes, I must admit sometimes I'll walk into my studio with the intention of doing something and kind of not know what to do and end up doing nothing at all. So it's a great warm up, a great entry into creating because, once your fingers start moving and engaging with the materials and stuff, that's when the thoughts start to happen and the what ifs. So, what a fabulous
Yeah.
idea. I absolutely love it. And Erin, what else are you working on at the moment? Have you got any fun projects in the pipeline or projects for the
Oh
summer?
gosh. I mean, I always have a million ideas. It's what do I actually get into that makes that that's what I'm working on. Right now I'm very much thinking about my garden and planting those for the summer, but it is also about time to revive my indigo pot. So
Ooh.
that'll be the next project. It's warming up enough. My indigo pot lives outside on the side of my house. So I have plenty of bananas to heat up to wake it up for the season. So I think that'll be the next big project, and then I'll start doing more dyeing and more layers and more stitching on top of the dyeing and yeah, dyeing and stitching, just different forms of it.
Well, it sounds like a pretty awesome way to spend the time, really.
Yeah.
Doesn't get much better than that. Well, Erin, thank you so much for your time today. It's always lovely to connect, and I just love the unique creativity that you bring to the way that you create and that you're very generously sharing with us as part of Making Zen. I'm super thrilled that you've joined us, and I can't wait for everybody else to have a wonderful time playing with your Chance and Choice embroidery. Thank you for joining me in this creative journey. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. And if you'd like to learn more about Making Zen, please check out the links below where you can find out all about the workshops and creativity, community, and all that kind of good stuff. Wishing you many happy hours of stitching.